Hell in a Cell, of course, has to have at least one Hell in a Cell match, and we had two of them for this pay-per-view. The first being CM Punk and Ryback, and when we're not talking about last year's Hell in a Cell match, this one includes Paul Heyman. Kind of. Paul Heyman, instead of actually participating in the match, he starts off by being on this, what do you technically call that? Like that kind of a lift thing?
Scissor lift?
It's just like a standard forklift.
Bro, do you lift?
Thither me timbers.
Whoever was driving that, this was like the highlight of the match for me. That guy had no idea what the fuck he was doing. Now, granted, I wouldn't know what the hell I would be doing either, but at the same time, you'd think that he would kind of try that out ahead of time. It took, what, like 10 minutes for him to come down to the ring?
I'm guessing Vince probably came up with that at the last minute. He was probably walking by it and was like, "What's that?" Vince, that's a part of the stadium equipment, the arena equipment. We're using it now. It looks cool.
But, shit, I'm glad that the commentators actually didn't ignore it and try and cover it. They just ripped the piss out of the guy.
Yeah. Michael Cole's comment, Heyman's going to be seasick by the time he gets to the
ring. Priceless.
So that was a very awkward way to start off this match. But, of course, it did what it was supposed to do. It got Paul Heyman to get to the top of the cell without him actually climbing the entire thing, because that would have been even more awkward and probably would have taken just about as much time, or maybe more. But he cuts a little bit of a promo, and he was planning to stay on top of the cell the entire time. So we just get the same standard match that we got last year, CM Punk and Ryback. Only difference with this is we don't have it for a title. The roles have been reversed. There's no Brad Maddox as a referee kind of a situation. And it comes out with CM Punk winning, and that's the same as it did last year. But this time he actually gets to climb up on the cell and do something with it. He attacks Paul Heyman with a kendo stick and celebrates, and then that's it. And thankfully, that is the end of this feud.
And the end of Ryback.
Didn't they climb the cell last year, though, and Ryback laid him out on top of it?
Oh, they did?
Yep.
Shit, I don't even remember that.
Yep.
That's just how much that mattered to me.
Yeah,
do you remember when Ryback was good?
No.
Yes.
Kind of.
I do. I signed him during that time.
I was like,
this guy's... Yeah, to my fantasy team. I'm like, this guy's got it. This guy's gonna be shooting to the moon. You wait. He's got the Cena. He's feuded with Cena right now. He's gonna be huge. And
I'm gonna correct you on that. I actually drafted him first, and then I dropped him when I could tell he was a loser, and then you took him.
Yeah, great judge of talent.
I love how he doesn't deny it. He's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I believe you only took him because you had to replace Zack Ryder.
Which was still a better choice. Because Zack Ryder's done all of jack shit this entire year. At least Ryback's beaten some people with tuna. Which is more than Zack Ryder can say. Which is a shame.
And in showers.
And he's done that stupid-ass laugh that he does.
You dropped the sub.
But I guess we'll not be seeing too much of Ryback. I don't know if really those rumors from triplescoops.com is really true or not, whether he's going to just be cut from Paul Heyman entirely, or if they're going to continue in some kind of fashion. But either way, Ryback's not looking that good right now. And he takes the fall. CM Punk goes up, beats the crap out of Paul Heyman to knock him out of wrestling for a little bit until Brock Lesnar comes back for WrestleMania at the very least. And I just wasn't that impressed with this match. I mean, I've been tired of this feud for months now, so I could not get interested in it going into it. And they didn't do anything crazy for it, so oh well.
Yeah, that's the problem. If this was going to be the blow-off matchup, if you're going to have this be the last matchup and it's going to be in the cell, I could understand maybe not wanting to bloody up Orton or Bryan because they're the golden gooses right now, but I mean, Jesus Christ, Punk's good for it. You know, you could have busted him open at least to get over Ryback's power, you know, his veracity. But it was a lame duck matchup. The cell really, aside from the Heyman thing, meant nothing. I mean, I think I actually fell asleep during this matchup, and by the time I woke up, the pay-per-view was over. So and that's how boring this matchup was. It just, there was nothing to it. And it pretty much killed Ryback. He's done, in my opinion. I mean, you can't have two start-stop pushes and survive. I mean, he's so done, and it's just, It was a lackluster finish to a feud that went on way too long, in my opinion.
Well, if that
Saying
didn't
that-
kill it, Raw did.
Saying that though, with Ryback, it wasn't totally his fault. Punk had a hand in the match being shit as well. Because I'm sorry, he's been just going on default like from the beginning, from his return, and I think Punk. This hopefully the whole not Wade Barrett, the whole Wyatt family beat down on him and Brian means that Punk's going to be out of action for a while because he needs it. He needs to really go back and think about why he's doing this.
This whole feud, if you don't mind me saying, it really does. Everything on paper should have worked, and yet,
Yeah.
in my opinion, didn't. Punk really didn't bring his A game. Heyman tried, but just couldn't get Ryback over. Ryback really wasn't allowed to really get over as the beast that he was during his face run. It just everything about this whole feud should have worked, but it didn't. And I think that's what angers me. And it went on way too long, obviously.
Yeah.
Paid?
This match was terrible. This is most likely the worst Hell in a Cell match of all time. First
Really?
off, wasn't one of the stipulations that Paul Heyman was supposed to be inside of the cage with them? Wasn't that what they decided with that when Punk won that match?
Yep.
Okay.
Don't-
Well, he wasn't inside. He was on top of it. Which, hey, it's cool and all, whatever. Paul Heyman was up there looking scared. He was playing, I got to stand right here in the middle, even though I'm 20 feet from the edge, but I'm still scared to take any step in any direction. The match was absolutely terrible, and the post-match, what a terrible payoff to this whole horribly, overly long feud. CM Punk sticks a kendo stick in his underwear, climbs up to the top, and just thwacks Paul Heyman across the back on it a few times.
Well, that's because Paul Heyman wouldn't take a GTS. Like that should have been the exclamation point to this. Him putting
I thought he did take a GTS on the cell.
Yeah, he did.
he did.
Yeah. You fell asleep. You don't have an opinion.
Well, Payton should have said it. He saw it apparently.
Well, the GTS doesn't add that much to it. There had to be more. Paul Heyman had to be humiliated. All right, he had to give him a wedgie. He had to put him in a walrus suit. He had to do something to that level.
Yeah, I
Yeah, he
always
didn't
wondered.
really humiliate the guy.
I always wondered because there's only so much you can do with Paul Heyman because of he's not a wrestler. But what do you do to actually get the payoff from this feud other than beat him up a bit?
Walrus suit.
No.
Pants him.
You humiliate him, and you didn't do that. That's the problem. And Brock Lesnar's still around. The truth is, he should have actually had. It should have culminated in a match between Lesnar and Punk with.
Yeah, but the whole story
Getting
they're
over
going.
Lesnar.
Well, the whole story they're telling with that is Brock right now has fulfilled all his contractual obligations right now, and so he's gone.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Before we go off there, I want to pull it back for a second. Ryback, he's done.
Yeah.
This guy is so done. He should have just stuck to messing with catering guys. Because once he went back to fighting wrestlers, he just can't handle it. I don't know what they're going to do with this guy after this point. Who could you possibly put him in there? You can't even put him in there for a mid-card title. Maybe you could put him into, like, a comedy tag team where you make him, like, the straight guy who has to deal with some really bizarre person.
Him and Santino.
No, it would have to be someone weird. It would have to be, like, someone they're bringing up from NXT or something.
Zack
think-
Ryder.
I think
Zack
there's only
Ryder, that's
really
good.
there's only really two ways that you could go with him if you want to try to salvage something out of him. And the one of them I can guarantee they're not going to do, and that's you separate him from Paul Heyman, you go back to the bully character, because he dropped that entirely when he went with Paul Heyman. Then he just became some dude fighting for Paul Heyman. You go back to the bully character, which was kind of interesting. We all thought it was funny with the whole the tuna slap in the face and all that. And even though it was such a mundane joke, the gazpacho thing, it was still kind of funny. But you have to go full on with it. And for the next few months, you need to make him every single show that you have something on, he needs to bully somebody. And he needs to bully the wrestlers too. He needs to get matches with like Hornswoggle and Yoshitatsu and anybody who's like just a little pissant kind of worthless person in WWE.
Your Zack Ryders, your Santinos.
Yeah, exactly. All those people, you need to have him wrestle them and do the backstage segments as well. And you need just to make him beat the living crap out of them and bully the hell out of them. And then you need somebody to come back like a Sheamus or something who does that whole be a star campaign thing and fights him. That's
Honestly-
Sheamus is the biggest bully in the company. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
right, but I mean somebody who's not going to be already involved with something in WrestleMania.
Honestly-
We're not gonna, we're not gonna get John Cena doing it or something like that. But they're never gonna do that. That's the problem because WWE would requires way too much effort and time and dedication and everything. So
Honestly, I've thought a great feud for Ryback if you want to really get him over as the bully. This might be a little bit tasteless, and I doubt WWE would want to do it. I would have had him versus Darren Young, honestly. I say go that route.
That's actually, that could have actually got
That
Ryback
would
over.
actually work.
I think
You're
that
gonna-
that's playing with fire a little bit too much.
Yeah, but
But it's edgy, and I know they'll be basically getting a lot of bad publicity over it. But basically having them, they could even kayfabe like suspend Ryback for his comments.
I think that'd actually be a decent avenue, because as long as you have Darren Young come out on top at the end, you tell the story that bullying never works, even though that's kind of bullshit, but...
on top.
The only other thing that I think that they could do that could salvage him a little bit at the very least, wouldn't make him some main event material person or whatever, but it would be give him a couple months off. Maybe not like, half a year or anything like that, but he needs at least like 2 months off where you can kind of forget about him and then bring him back in a tag team and just kind of use him as like one half of some big man tag team or something.
He could grow a mustache and team with Eli Cottonwood.
What's the name of that guy from NXT that they have right now that's pretty big?
Bo Dallas. Don't stop.
I want to say
believing.
Sawyer Fulton,
Sawyer Ferguson.
something like that.
How big is Leo Kruger?
I think he's kind of like standard, normal, like Randy Orton size or something.
There's Alexander Rusev.
You could put Ryback back with Wade Barrett, and they could be Bad News Barrett and Rotten Ryback. And they could be like snidely, like old time Rocky and Bullwinkle villains.
Ryback could be the Bullwinkle of the two.
I say put him with Zack Ryder. He can be Rybro.
You work for TNA.
Come on, it's been working for Robbie E and Jesse Goddard's.
Well, stay out of his Rye zone.
Yeah. This could work. This has money written all over it. Screw you guys.
Yeah, look at all the money that TNA's making.
Who hasn't chimed in? Who wants to throw something out in there about this?
As far as the match goes, it was fucking terrible. The thing is, the whole point of the Hell in a Cell, I understand it's to keep guys in, but the whole point from the get-go when they started with the first one is guys always escape. It's the reason why Kevin Nash vs. Triple H sucked in Hell in a Cell too. You need, in a cage match, you need some blood, you need some drama, and you got none of it from this. You got CM Punk beat Ryback in a really crappy match that barely utilized the cell, and then CM Punk have a piss-poor beatdown on Paul Heyman, which apparently is meant to make us believe that he's not going to be around for a while. I just didn't enjoy it. I thought it was just poorly booked, poorly performed, and I'm starting to think that CM Punk's phoning it in.
Yeah, and I think it was extremely cheap. The storytelling wasn't that great as well in the match. Punk, and I agree. I'm the huge Punk supporter. I love the guy. I think out of anybody, like the light shines out of his arse. But now I just think he put a big stick up his arse. He's just
Didn't he do that when he was climbing the cell?
Exactly, especially when he's climbing the cell. He just doesn't seem like he wants to do anything anymore, and he's just there because he wants to try and have the big WrestleMania payoff, which, truthfully, I used to see him as the guy who had potential to be the number one guy in the company. Now I just see him as a guy who's there.
Any other thoughts anybody has?
Ryback's done.
Stick a fork in him, he's done.
We're going to move on here. Los Matadores versus the Real Americans.